right. Let's take a look at the Fimi X8 Mini after about 6 months of use. As you can see, my Fimi has a new paint job. I'll talk more about that in a second. It's actually just a sticker. But I have used this drone for about 6 months now, and by and large, I have a lot of positive things to say about it. It's a really easy to use, really easy to learn. The controller that comes with it is pretty easy to get a handle on. The joysticks are nice. You can control the drone quite well. There's a beginner mode in the software that you can use if you're feeling a little uncomfortable. And it does a good job. It has some really nice intelligent modes that are helpful when you're getting started and you're trying to learn how to use the drone. And so you can use these intelligent modes to get certain shots and pictures that you may not be able to get on your own right out of the box. And so it can automate some of those things. It also has a really good Autoland feature. Now, I will admit that the Autoland feature works best when you're already close to your helipad and you're almost at your return to home. You can Autoland down onto your helipad, and it recognizes my helipad now quite well. The reason that Autoland feature is working well, I think, is because of some updates. And this is another positive about this Fimi X8 Mini. I've received a lot of firmware updates over the past 6 months. All sorts of new things have been added or improved, I guess you would say, less than added. Lots of improvements in the handling, the flight, and it shows. For example, one of the things that a lot of people have complained about is that they have trouble with horizon tilt. And I've seen a lot of videos of people that have had problems with getting a flat, straight horizon line. I don't seem to have that problem. I did notice it really early on, slightly. I did some compass calibration and some other calibration of the gimbal, and it improved it. But then with some recent updates, I haven't had that problem at all. Now, I do fly mostly in mountainous areas, and so my horizon's not perfectly flat anyway, because I have these jagged mountains that go across the horizon. But I can still tell from my footage that my horizon line, by and large, is flat, and I haven't really had any of the issues that you sometimes see on the internet with Fimi drones. Another thing that has been really good about this little drone is its durability. This is the first drone of this type that I've ever owned, and I have growing pains, as any drone pilot does, and so I've crashed it a couple times, and it's worked just fine. I've had to replace some of the blades, the propellers, when I've had a crash. They haven't been too hard to replace, and they're pretty easy to find. That's another plus that I'll get into in a little bit about the accessories here. Another thing that's pretty good about this drone is the battery life. So I am just using these standard batteries, so like this one here, and they just go right into the drone, into the back. And my flight time is typically around 30 minutes. It's often a little bit less. I often try and bring it in a little earlier than what maybe I could do if I were pushing it. I just don't want to end up in a situation where my drone is flying out there and I don't have enough battery to bring it home. Now, those are a lot of the positive aspects about the Fimi X8 Mini. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the negative aspects. And one of those is the fact that I'm having a really hard time getting the photos and the videos from the Fimi to download seamlessly to my phone. For me, that's not a huge deal because most of the time I offload the footage from the SD card that's on the drone or that's in the drone onto my computer, do some editing, upload the videos to YouTube. But if I wanted to just be able to take a video, put it straight on my phone, and then share it on social media, that's been really slow. I'm able to download the photos pretty well straight onto the phone, but downloading video seems to take too long for me. The only other real issue that I've had, and this was kind of a big one, is with this little cable here. So this is the USB-C to USB-C cable that I use to connect the remote controller to my phone. It goes in right here in the bottom, and then it loops like this to connect into my phone right here into the controller. There's also a USB-C to Lightning connector if you have an Apple phone, and one for micro USB if you're using an older cell phone or perhaps a tablet. Now, this little cable here almost caused me to lose my drone. I was flying out in the salt flats in Utah, and I had been having some issues with getting the controller to connect to the drone and to show me on my phone the feed. So the video feed, but also the GPS coordinates of my drone. And it was intermittent. It was going in and out. I put my drone up in the air, and this was entirely my fault. I wasn't checking for the wind forecast at that time, or I didn't look closely enough at it. And the wind really picked up. My drone was quite a ways out, and that wind really picked up. And I could tell that my drone was not coming back, that as I was using full throttle trying to bring it home, it was slowly getting further away from me as the wind was just pushing the drone out over the salt flats. And so what I did is I sent it down, right? I auto landed it right there. And right about when I auto landed it, I lost the connection between my controller and the phone. I didn't lose the connection between the controller and the drone, but the connection that goes through this little cable to my phone got lost. And I was wiggling the cable around, doing everything I could to try and reconnect to go find my drone out in the middle of the salt flats using the GPS signal. I spent quite a long time out there searching the salt flats. No luck. I couldn't see the drone on my phone. I couldn't see where it had landed with the GPS until finally the cable reconnected long enough for me to be able to walk over and to find the drone. I never would have been able to find the drone if I hadn't been able to see where it was using the GPS coordinates in the map. Part of the reason I would have never been able to find the drone, and this is why the drone is now sporting this sort of ugly paint job, is because it's white. And so a white drone on the almost white sand was impossible to spot. This thing is not very big either. And so there I was searching on the desert for a drone that I couldn't see and that I couldn't find because I had lost the GPS signal to my phone. Eventually I found the drone, but I committed then. I said, you know what, I need something so that this is more visible in case I ever lose sight of it again as I'm flying. And so I bought this little decal off AliExpress. I think it was maybe $10 shipped. It's not my favorite. There were other ones I liked a lot more, but this one had the most colors. And so it seemed like it would be the easiest to spot. It also had a lot of different colors. And so this is one that hopefully if you end up landing it in some grass or you land it on the sand, there's enough variety in the color here that I'll be able to spot it. So that's why I ended up with this. That leads me to sort of the last thing I want to say about these drones, and after 6 months of flying it, is there are a lot of accessories available for these drones. So I have the decals on the drones. I bought a battery bag that I store my batteries in. I have 3 batteries. That's another great thing. There are lots of standard and pro batteries available now. This battery bag it was cheap, but it has these little indicators on the top that allow me to know if the battery inside is charged or dead. Really convenient. And propellers. So you can of course get a lot of Fimi propellers, but now there are also other brands that are selling propellers. I bought these, I haven't tried them yet. But I bought them because they have a little bit of orange striping here in the end instead of the gray, and I thought that was kind of cool. So all in all, 6 months. I bought this drone when it first came out. I spent $330 on it. If you add in the batteries and the decals and the propellers, everything else that I've bought for this drone, I've probably added another $150 worth of equipment on top of that. I do have some ND filters coming for the camera because I'm noticing that, especially when I fly in bright light, that having some ND filters would be great. So it's not necessarily cheap, right? It is cheaper than a DJI product, and for that, it's probably a good deal. I will say one thing that led me to choose the Fimi over the DJI was the fact that this Fimi X8 Mini does not have the same type of software in it and the geo restrictions that a DJI drone does. Now, I follow the rules when I fly my drone. I don't fly it in restricted airspace or places where I'm not supposed to. But where I live and fly most is in Switzerland. And so when I'm flying here, there are different rules for drones that are under 500 grams, not 250 grams like you see in the US and other places, but under 500 grams. And you can fly some drones that are under 500 grams in places where you cannot fly a drone that is over 500 grams. And so I have the advantage with this of being able to fly in more locations. Now there are certain height restrictions and other things I have to obey when I'm flying in those areas, but the reality is I wasn't sure with DJI software if it would be smart enough to know whether I could fly or not in some of these restricted spaces where I can't fly with a drone that's over 0.5 kilo, but I can fly with one that's under 0.5 kilo. So that, I think, was part of what led my decision to purchase the Fimi X8 Mini. But overall, I've been really impressed with it. I think it can do just about everything that a DJI drone can do. The video quality is great. I've had a lot of fun flying it. It's been easy to learn. And now I'm getting more advanced. I can do more things. I can get better shots with it. And I'm really enjoying it. So overall, if you're looking for a drone of this type, I would recommend thinking about the Fimi X8 Mini. I've had some really good experiences with it, and I think that it's good value for the money, flies well, and I'm excited to keep using it, to keep making the videos that I make. Please take a moment to check out some of my other videos. You can see some of the footage that I've been able to capture with the drone. And thanks for watching.